What would the music be without sounds?
Hey guys, what is up? This is my Briggs & Stratton 3.5 horsepower classic engine. This, it looks like an ordinary engine, right? Well, it's not. This is a lawnmower engine. It's a 4-cycle. Just to remind you, it's 4-cycle. The oil dipstick is right there. And it's exactly like that lawnmower. And it's exactly like that engine there. It said this one is 6.5 horsepower. And that one's unknown. Just because I have no papers for it. And so this is I converted it from lawnmower engine to an engine like my Tecumseh. This is my Tecumseh. This is often this is a 10 horsepower. It was often a snowblower and NGK. I ran it straight pipe because these Tecumseh engines have really nice sounds. My shitty ass weld job. My other shitty ass weld job. And it's exactly like that. It's exactly like, well, I don't know, I don't have any other engines. Anyway, this was a 3.5 horsepower lawnmower engine converted to a 3.5 horsepower ordinary engine. So, as you can see, the gas tank is mounted flat, where it used to be turned the whole opposite way. It's got, I put the spark plug boot because it didn't have one before. Muffler deflector, pretty redneck. I had to turn the recoil because the pull cord was all the way underneath here, so I'd have to pull it like there. So I drilled out all the welds and I screwed it on pretty redneck. Pretty horrible, but oh yeah, this is the kill wire.
Oh yeah, that's me. Thank you.
And like this tube here is the PCV tube.
Come here, sit down.
That's the PCV tube that makes the choke-o-matic work, I think. Okay. And
Mommy said she's gonna come.
oh yeah,
You gonna come?
yeah.
Take this guy for a walk. Go, Theo.
No. Oh okay.
It's not raining. It's not raining.
So here you got your ordinary air filter, choke-o-matic, still original. All the carburetor is original except for this tube here and this throttle spring, which used to be the governor spring. And as you can see, and this, no matter what, will always be on idle. That is always idle. I had to build this piece of shitty radio steel. It's why I'm saying radio is because it's steel from a Toyota radio. Not lying. Toyota. Cheapest cars in the world. It's this type of steel here. It's like the bracket that holds the radio in place. I just cut it up with my ordinary scissors. Aluminum scissors. There. And because I had to cut that or else the gas tank would be like flopping around. So I used the original bolt from this gas tank and the original spacer. Drilled a hole big enough for this to go right through. And then on the other side, I have another lock washer with a 5/16 nut. Grade 5. Try to get grade 5 bolts. Okay? Like for my head bolts, because I broke a couple. I took some grade 5 bolts, and they're 5/16. And you have your ordinary gas tank, and as you can see on a, yeah, you can sort of see in there, the tank is like all crushed. Well, you have to crush the tank for it to pass. See how the tank is all crushed there? You have to crush the tank inwards so that it'll pass the shroud, or else if you bang the shroud, it's gonna touch the flywheel and you're gonna say, oh man, I just locked up my engine, which is so not true, so just don't. And for the PCV tube, I just took some ordinary clear hose, which works really well. It fits inside this grommet thing for the choke-o-matic, because you can see that spring in there. And this is just hooked up in there. The tube just slides up in there. It slides right on. And for the bullseye, that's the valve cover gasket there. The valve, whatever thing there. The valve cover, I guess. It's, I took the original tube. It's the bullseye tube here. I cut it. This tube here. Now, this tube is built like this, and at the end it's like maybe that much longer, and it has threads at the end. So I cut off the threads. I'm keeping that just in case. And once I cut off those threads, I heated up the tip of this tube on this side here and slid it on that tube, the aluminum tube, which is very cheap aluminum. Screwed it on with a pair of pliers as tight as I can, then passed the tube at the original spot where the what's it called, the PCV tube passes. So as you can see underneath, the tube comes out there. It's right here, passes over here, and then right into the grommet. So it's always direct. And so I put this thing off my 8-horse, off that thing there. And so it works out pretty well. So now I have to test it out, but I'm not going to test it right away because, yeah. Oh yeah, and I just remembered, inside the engine, if you're ever going to think of doing this, on the inside of the engine, you're going to have to take off the sump cover, and you have to make a piece of steel about long like this, about long like that, and you have to put like a little bend, a couple of bends on it, so that like it almost touches the bottom of the block underneath here, there, and that almost touches the sides. So what happens is when you fill it up to the original spot of oil, always try to put a bit more oil in it. What you do is, what happens, the oil sinks to the bottom, and then while you turn the engine like this, and while it turns, well, actually, sorry, like this, the engine turns clockwise. As it turns clockwise, the dipper goes down. They call it a dipper. It goes down, picks up the oil, and as the engine goes back up, it flings the oil up in the air and lubricates pretty much everything. So, hoping to God that's gonna work out. So, this is my uncle's lawnmower engine, so he gave it to me because it wasn't worth fixing. But it does run. It has like no compression whatsoever. I mean, literally no compression. And that screen inside, I had to like cut it up and fold it in like 4 different spots so the screws would pass. But the screen doesn't touch. The screen is there because if ever one day, like you're pulling the cord, you pull the cord and you're holding the engine down, and by accident your finger slips in, at least your fingers won't get cut up by the flywheel. But that's pretty useless, but I still put it there. And that's also to protect from leaves and all kinds of shrapnel and branches and like stuff like that not to go in. And also the mice from the top here. So, anyways, this engine's not going outside. And, oh God, I'm thinking of, because this is a 7/8 shaft, And I had this ginormous freaking pulley. It's aluminum. It's tightened up in there with an 8mm bolt. Works really well, this pulley, 7 inches. Not lying, not lying. And I'm gonna find a belt. I'm gonna find an alternator probably. And probably leave this bracket because it's pretty sturdy. And then I'm gonna like place the alternator there with the belt. Because from bigger to smaller, if you guys don't know the ratio for belts, it's pretty simple. If you want to go fast, you put, because the shaft, it's 7/8. The shaft is always going to turn at 3600 RPM. Then, as soon as you bring it to something bigger than the shaft, it turns faster. So this, in this case, it would be 7 times 3600 3600 RPM. 3600 RPM. You times that by 7, and you find the speed of the top of the pulley. Then you have your alternator, and you have your belt, and you divide it by the size of that pulley, and then you get your ratio. Simple. Later.
What would the music be without sounds?
Young Boss, Miss Trainer, Pitbull. Let's show 'em how we get down. I party like a rock.